everyone. My name is Julia. I run the Avocado Bungalow, and I wanted to share with you the top 5 things I have learned in our first month running an Airbnb in 10 minutes or less. Let's go. First thing that comes to mind when I say I run an Airbnb are questions like, are you doing Airbnb arbitrage? Were you hired by a separate host, a hotel, apartment complex developer to do so? Did you buy? How did you do it? Give us the inside scoop of how this all happened. Great thoughts, and I will do a deeper dive video about this because these are all great questions. And to maintain this video's integrity, I'm just going to stick to the things that I've learned and to provide an answer to that question. We bought, and a lot of the things that we were looking for when we bought were to find a house that has an ADU unit. An ADU stands for additional dwelling unit. So it is on the property. It's a standalone unit that has no walls shared. So a lot of people deem that as guest house, but I think in Airbnb for our listing, it's deemed as a tiny home, which is great because it literally is the cutest little tiny home. So our approach to having a short-term rental was that we could offset our mortgage, and we did this purposely in assisting our process for the permitting policies that are here in Austin. So we knew that we wanted to be living here, and you have to do so for a certain amount of time, and we can get more in depth with the Austin policies for short-term rentals later as well. So the first one definitely is, what are you doing? How are you hosting? That is the first thing that I learned. Different people have different approaches, but that is the thing that I've learned as a host, was just how do you go about it in the first place? The second approach that we had was the review system, and I'm coming off hot because I just had a review removed. This is full transparency, and I want to tread as carefully as possible because this will lead into my point number 3. So I have a marketing background, and I wanted to create an Instagram account and this YouTube channel to provide organic and paid advertising, and also just to broadcast, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how I'm spending my time, this is the business essentially that I've started. So I love to do promotions and giveaways, and out of the 5 things that I've learned, this is probably the biggest advice that I have for those of you who are starting out who may have the similar approach to me. And if you're thinking, I will list my Airbnb, and let's say the first 5 to 10 guests will be friends and family at a substantial discount to ramp up my reviews, I want to caution you. I want to caution you because the Airbnb review policy allows Airbnb to monitor and essentially gatekeep by removing any reviews that they deem as biased. I will open this up with a little story. I wanted to give a giveaway and promotion, and I was thinking, hey, whoever wins this, I will provide our Airbnb stay for free. From Airbnb's perspective, the stay that we hosted, we had no messaging in our Airbnb messaging app or platform because we were doing it all on text or email or social media. And in Airbnb's perspective, this is a huge no-no. This is essentially not obeying the rules. As a host, it feels kind of like, well, shoot, I did all this effort. I did a lot of broadcasting and marketing. Advice that the support team gave me was to provide a paper trail through the messaging section as much as possible. Have your guests you communicated with send a request and provide messages that are standard for any Airbnb stay, which is like the check-in items and just how it all goes down, because otherwise it feels fraudulent. This leads to number 3 of what I have learned as a host. There's a saying of following the money, which to me translates, how does Airbnb earn money? And many think of it as like the servicing fee and the hotel and hospitality taxes. And those are kind of different things. And there's also the cleaning fee, which is a current buzzword in the Airbnb world. And I'll get into that also a little bit later. But essentially, Airbnb wants, like all social media platforms, like all businesses, they want their users, their host and their guests to use the platform as much as possible. Number 3 is definitely that Airbnb can remove you from their platform if you don't follow their rules, their policies, and procedures. And so I didn't know that. Like, I don't know what I didn't know, but this is why I'm creating this video and this content, is because I wish that I had done a little bit more research, because I did a lot of uncovering and researching about how to remove a negative review, but I didn't know that you couldn't essentially sandbag positive reviews. So my 4th point of things that I've learned for hosting is getting clear on why you want to host in the first place. And that really does tie to the number 1 and number 2. Like for me, I don't know, I've just heard a lot in the ethos in the world of short-term rentals that a lot of people like to think of it as real estate investing, and that gets into arbitrage as well, which I can go down that rabbit hole too. But for me, I really wanted it to just be a hospitable place. I wanted it to feel safe, and I wanted it to feel curated, and I wanted it to be some place that anyone could come to just have like some nice reprieve. And that was our mode of going into hosting. I will get into a little bit more specifics of how each listing you can really find your niche about whether or not you want to have kids or pets and what those policies are. But really for us, we found this like really great space, and it had that ADU unit and it was already green. So I was like, let's do Avocado Bungalow. Let's also sprinkle in some East meets West, because I have a background of interfacing and presenting as Korean, because that's what I am culturally, but then I was adopted, so I have a lot of undertones of, German, Irish, Scotch influence. So just wanting to say that, like, most content creators and Airbnb people that teach master classes, they would say that out of the gate is their number 1 piece of advice, which is to understand your niche and why you are hosting in the first place. But my 5th and final piece is networking with other hosts. Like a lot of times, like I think when I was traveling, I would have my own methodology of how I would select an Airbnb, but as a host, I think it's really important to build that community and to understand and to do the back-end research and to figure out like, okay, what challenges did you as hosts have? What amenities do your guests like? And if you like really kind of become like a sponge and learn through your experiences, this video is a prime example of it. Like being able to say, okay, I did this thing, it didn't work out, and how do I pivot, and how do I, learn from that, and essentially turn back to the people that are wanting to host and tell them, hey, this is something that was a big challenge or pain point for me, and I want to make sure that you know that, because I wish I had known that. So I hope that was all comprehensive for you. If you want to learn more, do you think it would be helpful if I provided a $20 one-time class about more of the context and in-depth things that we did, maybe like kind of the financials of how we think about the budget in terms of how we set our pricing and the business side? Let me know in the comments. And also, how much do relationships, like, essentially, I think why I've been afraid to open up the Airbnb to the public is because how much do you want to know about your host? How much do you want to feel that their persona is distilled into the space? It doesn't matter to you at all. Do you think about that when you're booking for an Airbnb? And I would love to know more about what your musts are when staying, and that just are you interested in the whole differing dynamics between traveling versus hosting? Anyway, I hope that all summarizes things, like the top 5 things that I've learned in the first month of hosting in a really short time. I will say, I'll go over it really quick, fast and easy. First is, how did you come about being a host? Number 2, review system and policies. Review that for your Airbnb. Number 3 is that Airbnb does have a lot of control, something to be just aware of when you're starting out. Essentially, this is your business. And then that also plays into the whole dynamic of people being like hotel versus Airbnb. I thought Airbnb was a lot more lenient and flexible, but they don't know the inside that they crack down on a lot of things that the hosts think that they have autonomy with, but maybe they don't. And then the fourth is, why are you hosting in the first place? What vibe do you have? What differentiates your Airbnb from someone else's? And then the final one is to network. Really kind of support other people that are doing this too. Ask for the things that, are on your mind, and, make sure that you can be a resource for those that are wanting to do the same thing. I hope that this was comprehensive, and I really do appreciate you watching and viewing, and I'll be signing off now, but I will be making more content and more videos like this in the future, and I really do appreciate your participation. Thank you so much.